Hi, Flutie friends, and welcome to the studio. My name is Cassie, aka the Tattooed Flute Teacher, and this is my weekly vlog where I talk about what it's like to be a music teacher and different flute topics, as well as, just anything and everything that can have to do with this idea of flute and mindfulness that we talk about so much on my channel. So today I want to talk about a comment that I got on Instagram that made me think. It really made me reflect a bit. And the comment essentially was on a reel about how I struggle with imposter syndrome and how I work with my students to help deal with their imposter syndrome. And the person commented and said, maybe I'm delusional, but I just picked up my flute after 3 years of not playing, and I'm a relative beginner, and I actually really liked the way that it sounded. I'm wondering, why that could be. Is that kind of a mentality issue for me? And think that I think it's important to note that I don't think that having confidence is a problem by any means. I think that having confidence is the goal, right? So if you're already starting out your journey with confidence, that's incredible. And I'm so happy about that. It's also important to note that we all exist within the context of who we are, how we grew up, where we grew up, our traumas, our successes, everything that that we exist within, and all of our experiences go to make up this human that we are. So my confidence issues, which I do have confidence issues, stem from the context of the fact that I have trauma based around my flute. And there's a lot of it. So I won't dive too deep into that. Maybe I will one day, but and I talk a lot about this stuff on my channel. However, I think that it's important to note that your confidence and who you are as a player and your ability to take up space and not feel like you are burdening the people around you, that exists within this world that is you, right? Within this bubble of your experiences. And I think that what I try to do as a teacher is to build these experiences and build this context and this bubble with my students where they don't have to feel that level of imposter syndrome. They don't have to feel the lack of confidence, right? So I give my students the tools that I desperately needed at that age, and so that they won't have to feel or battle this imposter syndrome as they get older. And I think that if you already have that confidence now, I love that. And I'm so happy that that's how you feel, right? My goal, nobody's goal should be to break down your confidence, right? Or make you feel like you are delusional for the fact that you feel confident in your playing. You should be confident. You should be confident. And the fact that you are confident tells me that it's likely that you don't have some of the trauma that many musicians do. And that is incredible. And I love that so much. I'm glad that we're getting away from this space where our goal is to break down musicians and break down their confidence and weed out the weak so that we can, only work with the best of the best of the best, right? That's not who we are. Music is for everybody. And even if you aren't the most confident player or the most competent player in the very beginning, you still have the opportunity to become that later. And you're not going to become that by somebody breaking down your confidence or, beating you up over it. So I love the fact that I got that question because I feel like it gave me the opportunity to reflect a little bit and ultimately make this video where I talk about the fact that my lack of confidence as a professional does not mean that my students or the people that follow me should lack confidence because they're not as good a player as me, right? Does that make sense? And I think that that kind of shows through in my content a little bit, but I feel like I needed to explicitly say that to make sure that, again, I'm not projecting my confidence issues onto other students. So I work really hard to give my students the tools. I work really hard to make sure that they feel good about their playing and that they feel good when they leave lessons and that they feel like they have the right to take up space. However, it's really easy to project things onto people without even realizing it, right? So I just so appreciated that comment. I thought that that was very thought provoking and really cool. And if I can find the user, I will tag them in this video just because, again, I just thought that was really thought provoking and really cool. So I appreciate that. So this week coming up, we actually are going to be rolling into our third ever online virtual studio class where I get all of my students together. Last month, we had a masterclass where several of my students played in front of each other, gave each other feedback, and that was a super cool experience that I had growing up. I went to the South Carolina Governor's School for Arts and Humanities, and one of the things that the chair of woodwinds did was she got all of the woodwinds together, Dr. Kira Zong. She got all of the woodwinds together, and I think it was like every week or maybe even twice a week. I can't quite remember. It's been 15 years. But she got all of the woodwinds together, and a couple of us would play. So you might have like 2 or 3 or maybe even as many as 5 students that would, play an etude or a performance piece or an excerpt, whatever, and they would get feedback from their peers. And I thought that was such a good experience. Like, not only was it a way for me to get good feedback from my peers, but it was also a confidence builder, right? Because I'm not playing in front of a crowd of people. I'm playing in front of my peers, and they're going to be honest with me and be kind, right? So that was my goal for that studio masterclass, was that we were going to learn not just how to approach a masterclass like that, but we were also going to learn how to give and receive feedback in a positive way. My students did incredible work, and I love how thoughtful their feedback was, and I was just so grateful for that experience. It ended up being a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be, just because we had a few people that weren't able to make it last minute, so we really only had 2 performers, but we had so much positive feedback, and so much good, thoughtful feedback, right? It wasn't just, they did great and move on, right? It was, this was really beautiful. Their phrasing was beautiful. Maybe we could, look at where their breath marks are placed, or, work on the tempo, or work on, there was always something positive paired with something, a constructive criticism, which I really loved. And I think that that's incredible considering the age group. I mean, I work with students aged, I think, as young as 8, all the way up well into adulthood, and having that range and being able to hear each other and see each other play, and also being able to, give feedback in a mature and constructive way is something important. And that's another one of those confidence builders, right? That's another one of those ways that we work on that we give the tools to be confident. Because again, there's no bullying in my studio, right? I've only had a handful of students over the years that I've really had to have that conversation with. But the ones that I do, I'm always, hey, we're positive. We support each other. We're not here to drag each other down. We're not here to gatekeep these skills. We're here to help each other. And if you want to be a leader, and if you want to be, someone in the music world that people look up to, then you need to be willing to help, right? You need to be somebody that other people want to work with. And the few students that I have had to have that conversation with have turned themselves around. And I think that if there's anything that I can instill into somebody who is wanting to go into music as a career, it's to work on that ability to lead, right? That ability to help each other, that ability to, be the person that other people want to work with, right? Because we don't talk about that enough in music school. We don't talk enough about ditching the ego and being a helpful human. And so, we see a lot of people, especially in these professional orchestra situations, and even sometimes in private lesson teaching, and even in band directors, orchestra directors that have these intense egos that cause others to not want to work with them. It causes them jobs, right? Later on down the line, it causes them jobs. It costs them students. It costs them a lot of career prospects. And that's one of the big reasons why I push that so hard, right? Like, I want you to be confident. I want you to take up space. I want you to play in a confident way. But I also want you to be humble. I want you to be kind. And I want you to be somebody that is looked up to as a leader, somebody who leads with all of those qualities, that kindness, that empathy, that understanding, and that helpfulness, right? Not just, I'm awesome and you suck, right? We don't do that here. So I thought it was a really cool experience to see, my students really, really thrive in those roles and give each other such excellent feedback. We work a lot about self-awareness, right? And we work a lot on self-diagnosing what's going on within our playing. So it was really incredible to see such excellent feedback as they were able to apply those concepts to listening to someone else. So we had our monthly studio class, which was a master class. I want to do those about every 2 to 3 months. So we're going to do another master class style studio class in September. This coming master class, I'm still sort of deciding what we're going to talk about. I always like to pair a technical concept with a mindful concept, right? A soft skill, if you will. So, I think I want to talk about articulation, right? So the question is, what's the soft skill that I can pair with that? So I'm still kind of working out the details on that because I like for it to make sense, right? I like for there to be smooth segues between those topics and we can kind of intersperse them. We've been talking a lot about interleaved practice, right? Interleaved, interspersed, same kind of thing, where we're able to kind of find ways to connect different parts of our practice together, right? So if we're working on a section of a repertoire piece that's in D major, we might work on our D major scale before or in between, right? If we're working on a technical part that has a lot of double tonguing, we might go through and do some double tonguing exercises as we're working on that section. So I think that that's a really big concept that we're focusing on this month, really. So I think that is probably there. I like to try to have some cohesiveness ultimately. And I'm really excited for the month coming up. I'm really excited. I think that we've got a lot of excellent opportunities to start really supporting each other and to start really thinking critically about our playing. Of course, we see this all the time over the summer where we get a little bit of disengagement from, just because life happens, right? Life happens. We've got stuff going on. I've got stuff going on, right? So we see a little bit of a drop off on the practice. And I have seen that. I have my students, I try to have my students log practice in practice space. I don't grade practice logs, but it's just a good way for them to see, right, what's going on. So I'm never going to be upset with a student for not logging their practice, but it's a good way for them to see what's going on in their playing, right? And they can take notes, there's a metronome, it's good stuff. So as we kind of get back into the studio, the school year, and we start seeing the uptick in practice, we are going to start challenging a little bit, right? There are some students that are ready for that next challenge, and I'm really excited for them to really start working on these next challenges. I have a couple of students entering high school, entering their last year of middle school. I've got one that's actually entering middle school, and we're going to be really, really pushing the envelope on what they can do, right? So my one that's going into middle school, she's almost completely through her major scales. So our goal is to have our single octave major scales done this year and completely in fantastic shape and memorized, right? So that's a great step, right? We're setting little goals for the coming school year. I know that a lot of people, I like to set goals with my students at the first of the year and then kind of revisit them around the middle of the year, which would be like August-ish. But this is about when school is starting back. So a lot of people, a lot of younger students find that this is kind of their start to the year, right? So they find this like August timeline to be kind of their start to the year. So we start to revisit goals, right? We look at, okay, how were our goals from January? Do we need to reassess? Are our interests still aligned with this, right? And we start to move forward again and we start to push ourselves a little bit. So I'm really excited for all of the things to come. I think that, being able to teach flute, but also work so hard on the confidence and on the, all of those soft skills that make us incredible humans, right? I think that having the opportunity to work on those skills with my students is, I'm just so blessed and so humbled that I get to do this. So I can't stress that enough. I'm so humbled every day by my students and the incredible things that they're doing. And I'm just so excited to see what they do this coming year and to start working with some new ones here in the fall, which is going to be so fun. Of course, I've got private lesson slots available. I also have San Diego-based group lessons for beginners. I've got a session for youth, which is like 8 to 13, teen, 14 to 17, and then adults, which would be 18 plus. So I have beginner flute sessions. The younger, like the youth and teen, are going to be from like 0 to 2 years of playing experience. The adult, there's going to be a little bit wider range, right? So we're going to be like 0 to 5 years playing experience. Perfect for anybody who's picking their flute back up for the first time, that kind of thing. So I'm really excited to see all the things that happen this year. And I'm just so looking forward to this and seeing all of you thrive. I'm so proud of you all for showing up. You are absolutely incredible. You make my life so much better. So thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Be so, so, so kind to yourself today. You deserve that. And I will see you next week.